Alrighty, it's 7:45 on my clock, so it's time to get this started. What everyone's been waiting for, the lecture on flow by yours truly. So what is flow? There are several kinds of flow. The flow of the game, the flow of each of the four players at the table, and the way that points flow between the players as it progresses from East 1 to South 4 in a Hanchan. And individual flow can be many things, but to me, it's especially the ability for one to be able to do no wrong. Some might call it luck, some might call it skill, some might even say that luck is a skill. And that will remain to be seen. But then there are also other kinds of flow, like even in tournaments where I don't place well. Many people know me for conning Dora 4, or my ability to rack Hamba after Hamba in a dealer run. But everyone at the table contributes to that sort of flow. It is up to the South player especially to stop that dealership. They can call the tiles, especially that the dealer throws. And it is up to them to keep the flow of the game going. So how do you harness flow in Mahjong? I've learned quite a bit about this. Dealing in while you're folding. That is bad for flow. When you should be folding. That's also bad for flow. But dealing in when you're supposed to. It's hard to quantify that. That's okay. Sometimes you're meant to deal in. That is okay. Dealing in at the end of a winning streak, of a dealer run, as I usually do, that's also good for flow. You can think about it as giving points back. It's okay to be generous sometimes. Because if you weren't able to get those wins, why should no one else be able to do the same as well? So you want to win while you have the flow. And even if you don't have the flow, you want to prevent others from running up the Hamba like you have. Sometimes you have to do this. And we'll go into how to do this right here, right now. Then, the cases of Yakuman. Many people know me for dealing into Yakuman, but never when it matters. Dealing into a Yakuman in a casual game is good for flow. As I have said, people will never remember you folding to a Yakuman, especially when it doesn't matter. But getting that Yakuman for the first time will mean the world to some people when it comes to this game. Some people still haven't gotten it. Some people maybe they never will. But I believe that they can. Anyone can, really. So now we're getting into more of the meat of this. Mahjong mirrors life. Mahjong, like life, is unfair. Some people get a hand that's just gifted to them. They get a double Riichi. They'll just sumo no mi, except it's the first turn, and that sumo no mi turns into 8,000, 16,000. And then you'll have those hands where you throw 7 or 9 to almost an honors. And sometimes you can even reach you with that. It's very rare, but it's very much possible. And then people will have literally 0 safe tiles. And then you might even get a deal in on that. But getting that hand at Tepai in that path is so unlikely in the first place. There are many different paths your hand can take. And just like the way I've forged my own path in life, I've had to fight. And that translates to the way I will play Mahjong and the way I will teach you to play Mahjong. And there's my forward here that these tips are especially meant for playing Mahjong under WRC rules, such as the DC tournament that some of you will be playing in next week. These rules, or rather my playstyle, works much better without the easy access to red 5s. That just really changes the dynamic of the game. That doesn't always work out for me. So, we get to the first tenet, the first way that you can get flow in Mahjong, calling to invigorate the table. Sometimes in Mahjong, especially if you're playing on like Mahjong Soul where there are red fives, you'll have hands where no one makes any calls, no pawns, cheese, or Riichi, especially no cons. Then sometimes everyone is Tenpai, but more likely it's like no one is Tenpai. It's like you can't just help to laugh at times. Like you might as well have just all sumogiri'd. There absolutely nothing happened that hand, but you might have been afraid to throw tiles just in case someone was Dama or a Dama Mangan, as is usual in Aka Ari Mahjong. You have to remember, like, yes, you can draw hands, you can draw tiles. Sometimes you have to have faith in your draws, but sometimes you shouldn't have that much faith. Some hands are meant to call. And in those hands that are meant to call, you should aim to call them in a way where you can hoard safe tiles. Because dealing in will be the end of your hand. And you don't really want to do that in a hand that is especially meant to call. You want to slim down to the right amount of tiles and only keep what is necessary. Mahjong is a game of advancement. And by calling, you're committing to showing the rest of the table that you are ready to advance your hand. And those people in turn will call to match your speed. Or perhaps they won't, but they might be incentivized to do so. And here are some examples where we can call to invigorate the table. Now this 3-pin comes out. Would you pawn this? I would. I absolutely did. I see this as a Tanya 1 away. The shapes are horrible, but they are so horrible that they have to be called. Some people would see this hand, they would see Chitoi. There are 4 pairs, but I believe that's too slow. There's no guarantee. Therefore, I take the call. And what do we have here? We surely invigorate the table. There's a turn 4 or 5, depending on how you count Riichi, on our dealership, and we are Kanchan 1 away for Tanya. But because of the way we threw our tiles, we happen to have a perfectly good safe tile, the White Dragon, or at least avoiding Ipatsu. Now, a few turns pass, we call, we get Tenpai, and we have to make a real decision. This isn't actually that hard of a decision, but it makes you want to think a little bit. We have 2 pawns. We almost would want to throw the 5-so, in the sense that we would want Toi. But Toi isn't realistic here. And more importantly, 5-so deals into a shape that has the Dora. And also 5-so is what lets us accept the Dora. Which happens to be Sanzo. A really good tile, if you know me. Therefore, we throw the 7-so, so in case something bad happens here. I guess you might want to think about throwing the 6-mon or the 8-mon, since both of those are safe. But in this situation here, this is part of my Armor Championship Series. I need this dealership. I need to win here. I'm going in to the last. But I really need to win here. I need to keep the dealership. Therefore, I will try to maximize my chances of winning. And chances of winning with more points. Therefore, I really want the Dora acceptance. So I throw 7-so. And eventually, I do draw that Dora Sanzo. And I sumo the Kanchan for 1,000 all. And get the Riichi stick on top. And just to illustrate how much the table was invigorated, I'm going to show you what this turn 4 Riichi, you might have thought, oh, I should have dealt in. But at the same time, a turn 4 Riichi can be a really bad weight. You'd probably expect that, right? Well, surprise, it was this monstrosity of a closed Honitsu hand with the Dora. If I threw that 5-so, I would have dealt into the 2 5-so pay weight. But because we knew our principles, don't throw the tiles near the Dora. Accept the Dora for yourself. Keep a safe tile. Which, it could have ended up as Chitoi even. Let's see, yeah, this is what happened when we were calling. It was 1 away from Honitsu Chitoi. That White Dragon might have actually ended up dealing in. if it became Chitoi. But thankfully it did not. Thankfully that White Dragon was a safe tile against that Riichi. So this is less about technique, but more about accepting the results you have. A game like Mahjong, strong players, it's not that hard for them to lose to players that are new or considered as weak or strong or whatever. It is ultimately just part of the game. There's a lot of luck involved. There is skill, but you can't always win, even when you usually do win. Sometimes people get mad. They will get mad at what they can't control, but you have to remember to be mad at what you can control. Every hand, especially when you don't call, you have 14 decisions. And those decisions are on you. You have to remember if you truly, truly made the right decision, think back on what you could have done to make things different. Sometimes people may make very strange decisions. And sometimes it's okay to wonder what they were thinking, to open your mind to different perspectives. But if you're just crashing out, showing vitriol, that's unbecoming. It's bad for flow. And you will end up just losing more and more. You just have to remember, at the end of the day, this is a game. We're playing it to have fun. At least some of us are. And now, after we go to that, we come to playing with conviction. Sometimes, you might see someone just feed a Chinitsu and then just deal in 3-call Chinitsu. Oh, it's obviously Tenpai. If they'll Diamond Con first call, it's very hard to justify. There are some justifications sometimes. But your gut feeling is, what the hell are they doing? They may have a good reason. But you should always have a good reason for making the choice that you make in Mahjong. And as long as you believe in your system, it may not always work, but you just have to believe in yourself sometimes. I think part of the game of Mahjong is really all in the mental game. For me, especially, it's really hard to be there in ladder, the red 5. It's really stressful, and just the whole idea of faceless opponents. So I'm not so much of an expert there, but I really enjoy live play. And here we come to an example of how you should keep things cool. You see, most of my examples, I will be in the typical first-person seat. But in this example, I am Toyman. I've dealt into 32,000. And I was illustrating here, it's hard to see, I'm holding the Dora indicators in my hand. I have Chitoi Tenpai with a pair of Dora waiting on pay. But clearly with the early 2-pin and the Suji Toitsu, I should have been waiting on this 1-pin that dealt in. So instead of getting 18,000 for my Riichi Chitoi Sumo Dora 2, I dealt into 32,000. You might think, it's so over for me. That is what I might have thought if I wasn't as strong as I was. This is a game log that you'll see if you if you attend a tournament rather for PML. You'll see I am Dustin 593. That's me. Before this 32,000 deal-in, I was actually in a pretty good first place. I won a Mongon, a small hand, and then another Mongon against 2 Riichis. And you'll see at the results, even though I dealt into 32,000, I'm above the starting points of 25,000. And I wouldn't be able to do that if I just tilted and threw everything away. Sure, I could have had a much greater first place, but dealing into Yakuman is not the end. Sometimes it's just the beginning. So, especially in the rule set of Akanashi Mahjong, Riichi Patsusumo, every Yaku, hunting for those is really important because you do not get red 5s to just arbitrarily add value to your hand, especially for a Tanyo. So being able to manifest these is so much more important. Or waiting for upgrades, whether they come from the tiles you draw immediately, or when you sense that it's the right time to Riichi. So here's one example where I am considering. There are several choices you can make here. You can throw 2-pin, waiting on the 8-pin. You can throw the classic Riichi Suji Trap, throwing 5-pin, waiting on the 8-pin Dora. Or you can throw 9-pin to have Tanyo. You could even Dama this. Or you could even Riichi it as well. These will both have the same value. But Tanyo is much more flexible than Dora 1. Therefore, we always take the Tanyo here. And this time, we wait. We have ideas of improvements. A 4-pin will give us a 3-6-pin wait for Tanyo Pinfu. And a 1-pin would be a bit of a side grade. We'd lose Tanyo, but we'd gain Pinfu. So we will wait and see what tiles are in store for us. So we wait. And we draw a 4-mon. Now, if you haven't seen it already, you might be thinking, oh, I can get 4, 5, 6 Sanchoku here. However, at this point, it's turn 8, and we'd have to find another pair. And if you haven't realized before, with me mentioning, if you gain a 3-pin, you would be having an improvement in a way, but it'd be Furry 10 because we threw the 1-pin earlier. So the real amount of upgrades we have is like dwindling in a way. And a Sanchoku is just completely unrealistic. Therefore, we sense that we've waited long enough. It's time to Riichi. And results-based Mahjong, Riichi, Pot, Sumo, Tanyo. The AI would never do this. Only I, with my style, would have gotten a Mangan here. I don't know if the AI would have taken the Tanyo or the Dora, but either way, they would not have won as many points. So, there is what I have said about waiting a turn, but waiting your turn is also important. If you haven't realized already, folding is a very important skill in Mahjong. Like sometimes your hand just isn't there. You have to be prepared for a hand to just not be there. Like if you're playing poker, many hands just have to be folded. The same can be true of Mahjong. It doesn't have to be, but it can be. Really, like anyone can win a Mangan. Any bot, any AI, any snake can Riichi a Mangan. But truly, to throw away something that's Tempai when you know you will deal in if you throw a dangerous tile, that takes a certain amount of mental capacity to do so. In the recent meetup, I won't name names. They may even be here right now. Someone dealt into their Baimon Mai Shanten against 2 Riichis. They're already in first place. But there's being greedy for the hands that you have had. But what about being a dragon sitting upon its hoard, being greedy for the points you have won already? Both of these things are important to winning in Mahjong. And there is another tenet. Sumokiri Riichi is a sign of strength. You may not believe it, but if you think about it, really. Well, on one hand, dueling Riichis is the essence of Mahjong. Riichi against Riichi. They will usually resolve their differences fairly quickly. A Kanchan Riichi can win against a Samenchan Riichi. It usually shouldn't. It usually doesn't. But it really hurts when it does. And especially if you're playing like high-level Mahjong, especially in like Mahjong Soul and Jade Room, it's not super uncommon for someone to just have a Tanyao, Pinfu, Dora 2, and just Dama their Mangan. And then as soon as another Riichi happens, they just let loose for that higher chance of a Hanuman. Because sometimes people will just fold there. It can get really depressing sometimes, honestly. If somebody who's like kind of got up there to like Jade level, but hasn't really played, you get your nice Riichi, Pinfu, 2 Dora, but people will just like fold perfectly if they don't have the things to fight you with. And as they should. And now we will get into some more examples, signifying both of these last two slides. So here, we have, as you can see, the Dora is the 8-so. We have a triplet of it. We just throw 1 mon for Tempai. Many bots would reach you this. It's a Mangan. You have 4 tiles available in the wall. However, I believe in greatness. I believe in waiting a turn. And I am rewarded. There are 2 ways we can go about this here. We can reach you with 5-pin, waiting on 3 6-pin. But 2 6-pin are out. We expect the 3-pin anyway, but that's also in our hand, so there are 5 outs here. And we have to Riichi. Therefore, you might like think, oh, Ryamen, but it's not that good actually. But the real upgrade here is we have a Yaku. We can Dama. And by being able to Dama with a Yaku, we have even more upgrade potential. We still have 5 mon. We have another 4-pin. Those are our upgrades. We can still upgrade. And if we sumo Tanyo Dora 3, sumoing a Mangan is perfectly fine. So let's see what we have in store for us. So, interesting enough situation here. We have not drawn any upgrades per se. We have drawn this 4th Dora. However, there are 2 more calls on the board, 2 confirmed Yakuai, and we only see 2 of the 7-so. If we throw this Dora, some people might do this, but I would never. It's Dora 4. We could have Tanyao. We con this and we Riichi. That'll give us a Hanuman. We absolutely con this. And what do we get? We get a 4-mon. Some people might see this and salivate over that Nakasuji trap and Riichi the 6-mon, weighing on the 5. But that does make it a little suspicious. Like, why would you have this tile? Like, some people might be a bit more cautious about throwing that 5-mon, considering it's near the Riichi tile. Therefore, we just show our strength. We show the table that we had a surprise Dora 3. We had a Yaku. But now we're just going to call Riichi now that our cards are all on the table. Sumogiri Riichi. And this is the outcome of the hand. You see, the player on the left, the Kamicha, they should have waited their turn. And as you can see from this wall, if you're not familiar with Tenho, they pushed this half Suji 5-pin into a dealer Riichi showing Dora 4. That was absolutely insane. Yes, their 9-so East weight is pretty good, especially with 9-so being kabe'd off by the 8-so, but you never know when those 9-sos are going to show up. They're too deep in the wall for them, unfortunately. And even more tragically, if they didn't throw this 5-pin, I would just sumo next turn. You can see from this Dora indicator, yeah, we con ourselves another Dora, because I didn't mention that. And then we also con ourselves an Uradora. So instead of dealing in for 24,000 like this person did, sometimes you just have to accept it that you're beat. Just accept the sumo. They paid 16,000 more because they really thought they could fight this. Yep. And here is a live example of me waiting a turn.
Reach.
You can ignore the 4-tile handling.
Yes. From
Hop. Hop. Hop.
reach pots storm
52.
52 55. Yeah.
Oh, I see. That's why you. That's a very impressive.
See, possibly.
All right. So, having a demonic luck. I've already touched on this before, but sometimes you're playing Mahjong. You get a feeling of every decision you make backfiring. You have like 6 blocks. You like try to trim down, and the block you threw away just would have filled if you kept it, and so on. It really sucks having that happen. But there's also a compliment to that. Sometimes you may make suboptimal decisions, but you end up doing no wrong. You end up sumoing the weight, no matter how bad or suboptimal it is. But no matter if you are having a good or bad flow, you need to put all of the lessons together collectively to make the most how your flow is. There's one more example we're showcasing here. This is the final hand, the final Hanchan, where I won my ARML 2024 championship. Now, what would you do here? Some people would salivate. Oh, this is a Chitoy Dora 2 one away hand. I can just Dama and just win. Any win here matters. The Dora here is mostly irrelevant, actually. But some people, they would believe in Chitoy. We don't believe in Chitoy. We believe in calling to invigorate the table. And yes, this being the South Yakuai makes this an easy call, but I would make any of these pawns. This is just the South is the most likely and also the most helpful. So what does this get us? Oh, Dealer Riichi. Great. We are lucky enough to draw a safe tile on the Ipatsu turn. But past that, it's not looking great. But what does the wall have in store for us? Surely it has something. We may have to push some tiles. That Sanzo is not looking great. But this Hanchan, this hand, is what it all comes down to. The winner of this hand just wins the championship. So now we've pushed a few tiles. Sanzo passes. We get this free Suji on the 8-mon that we have drawn along the way. Now we are ready to take Tempai. And which Tempai would you choose here? The classic answer, if you were paying attention to the entire board, is to throw 7-pin and get a Ryamen weight. Although, no one has been able to tell me when I asked them this, like, what is the dealing chance of throwing 7-pin? I could not tell you. There is a chance of it dealing in. We don't see a lot of blockers around that upper Pinzu. There's a chance. And maybe I was too scared of that. But really, I just completely missed this free Suji throw. So instead of throwing the 7-pin like most bots would do, I threw 6-pin. Because I was just too afraid of 7-pin dealing in. Especially not noticing the Suji information. And then, oh no, there's another Riichi here. And if we chose this 6-7, waiting on 5-8 pin, we would have just won already? It's not looking good here. It's not looking good. But how does this hand resolve? It resolves with the person with the most luck, the most flow, winning, completely outplaying the rest of the table. I have in my hand an Anko of the Dora 7-mon, Dealer waiting for the 7-mon Kanchan, Shimocha waiting for the 7-mon Tonki. And Shimocha has 3 of my waiting tiles. But when it comes down to Mahjong, you only need 1 tile. And that is how I played the rest of the players at this table. And how I won the ARML 2024 championship. That is because I had the demonic luck. There are some various key points here. I don't really need to say them, but, just as I said at the beginning, call the hands that need to be called. call them, advancing the tempi faster. A cheap, fast hand has a lot of value in shutting down large hands, as they've shown by shutting down that turn 4 Riichi Honitsu Dora. You know, sometimes waiting, people have a hard time backing down when they get Matempai. So sometimes you can let them get a false sense of security. Sometimes I will wait for a call to Sumogiri Riichi. I know they will be too far gone and unable to fold. Unwilling, rather. Definitely able, but unwilling. And now, it's time for any questions and answers. Let's see. I don't know if it's not really like a hand raising system unless someone's like just have at it. Dennis, hello?
I have a comment.
Yeah.
Um, so I feel like I often um, will sumo gear reach, but it's more so because I'm hesitant and I just want a little bit more time to decide like if I want to reach or not. Or I'm like um, greeting for an upgrade or something. I feel like maybe that's worse flow than um, I guess some of the reasons that you were talking about.
Well, those
I
are
don't
the
know.
same reasons. You're waiting for an
Well,
upgrade. Maybe not like the hesitation. I mean, there's like
hesitation more so.
but it's good to finally you had hesitation, right? But you ultimately made the decision to reaching. You committed. That
Mm.
is showing strength. Whether or
And
not you should is another thing, but at least according to your beliefs, you made the right decision.
yeah, and I noticed the that person commented on your like IRL game that you showed. Is that do you think that's something that people read into in general, or like next week? If I sumo gear reach, will people be like, "Oh, question mark? What was that? Is that like suspicious?"
They probably will. Most likely, as far as I know, it's probably hiding that your weight was like a Suji trap or near your previously discarded tile, especially if they were noticing it was Tadashi. Or they may just think your hand was bad and you're waiting for upgrades.
Mm.
But I wouldn't really recommend like waiting when you just have like a Pinfu. That's like most of the time you just instant reach those and get Ipatsu Sumo. But unlike the chances that you don't, they may be expecting something bad. But when you really have a good weight, will just be caught by surprise.
Mm. I see.
All right, Carlos. I know you got questions, but maybe I have answers.
Shit, you caught me.
I got you. I just know.
You can read me like a book. All right. So, uh, how how would you go about dealing with people chase reaching you? I tend to lose them. I feel like I lose all of them.
Um,
I guess I should take your pennant and just wait a turn. Wait more.
sometimes you will want if you were like worried about being chased, you want to make sure that your Riichi is strong in the first place. Like sometimes you don't want to get the early Kanchan Riichi. Sometimes you're supposed to, but like statistically, yeah, it'll probably work out in the long run. But you also really shouldn't be surprised if you get chased.
Thank you.
Anytime, Carlos. All right, Sergey. I know you got something. If anyone's got me, Sergey's got me.
So what I got from this is that when you don't defend or play efficiently and win, it's because you trusted yourself and played demon style. But when you lose because you didn't play efficiently or decided to fold, it's because things happen.
Well, no, that's not quite how this works. Like, I didn't really, I mean, like, I use the word demonic luck, but I didn't really go into demon style. Like, that's a little, that's a bit more nonsensical. It's trying to, like, keep this a bit more grounded than demon style. There are some good things in the demon style, but it's, demon style is more just about, like, challenge you to think outside the box. Just not to go for the obvious Riichis.
I'm just messing around. No, I mean messing around with players' expectations with stuff like Tamugi or Ichi is fun and all. If you were playing against someone that was playing like this, what's the best countermeasure? Especially since you have 20 or so people in the chat right now, at least half of which will be at the tournament. They will be probably trying the stuff that you just told them.
At the end of the day, only the lucky win at Mahjong. Just simply be luckier. Simply have more flow.
Okay, I'll practice my wall swaps and cheating techniques. Thank you.
This is not a Kagi. You can't do that. We're gonna catch you, Sergey. I'm gonna have to give you obfuscation. Whatever it's called. Obstruction. That's the word. Oh, Jake. Jake, I know you got something, Jake. I see you there. Actually, I don't. You're in Delaware. I wouldn't be surprised if you got nothing. All right. Any other takers?
So what inspired you to give this lecture?
Among other things, sadly, she's not here. Our clubmate Ali was like, "Oh, when are you gonna teach us how to be good at mahjong?" I don't know. Sometimes I just win, and I wanted to share the good flow with others, because like it's fun to win sometimes, but it's also like it doesn't feel good if I just keep on winning all of the time, right? I want some sort of challenge. I want people to like challenge me. So I don't really care if you know how I think, because I'll so beat you anyway.
Okay, cool. Thank you for blessing us with this information.
Justin, can you explain to me the difference between turbulent flow and laminar flow, but in Mahjong?
I don't know what that means. So no, I can't. But turbulent. That sounds like you're having a tough time. Or maybe that tough time is giving you some flow. I don't even know what the other word you said is. But yeah. I don't know, Michael. I just don't know. But that's okay to not know. All right. Well, I'll stop the recording there. That is it for me.